Right now, at this exact moment, there are top-load washing machines sitting unsold on appliance store floors across the country that sales staff cannot give away. Not because they are defective, not because they underperform, because they have a dial instead of a display. And the average buyer walks past anything that does not look like it belongs in a spaceship. That cosmetic bias is quietly costing households thousands of dollars over a decade, while the people who repair washers for a living are circling back to those exact same machines and bringing them home. From that vantage point, 3 top-load washers keep rising to the surface of the same conversation. All 3 sell for a fraction of what a new entry-level machine costs at retail. All 3 are built on engineering the modern appliance industry quietly walked away from. And all 3 are available on the used market right now, waiting for someone who knows what they are actually looking at. Today, those 3 machines get named. Subscribe before this ends and drop a comment with where you are watching from. Number 3 is the Kenmore 80 series, and understanding why it belongs on this list starts with a simple question. What does a repair technician actually want to see pull into the driveway? Not a machine loaded with billable complexity. A machine where the diagnosis takes 2 minutes, the part costs under $20, and the job is finished before lunch. The Kenmore 80 series is that machine every single time. Consider what happened when a buyer nearly purchased a 2019 LG front loader off a private listing for $425. The service history on that model told a predictable story. Drum bearings on that production run follow a documented failure window. The control board carried an open manufacturer recall. A realistic assessment put a $380 bearing replacement on the horizon within the next year, and that was the optimistic scenario. The alternative was a 2003 Kenmore 80 series available locally for $225. Mechanical timer, no circuit boards anywhere in the operating system, nothing to short out when humidity crept into the control panel. The Kenmore went home that afternoon. 14 months passed without a single repair expense. The agitator dogs eventually wore $18 in parts and a 10-minute job. What the Kenmore 80 series represents is a philosophy of engineering the residential appliance industry largely abandoned when energy efficiency ratings became the primary competitive metric. The motor on this platform connects directly to the transmission through a single coupling. That is the entire power transfer system. No rubber belt waiting to harden and snap. No tensioner bracket slowly corroding. No pulley system falling out of alignment. The coupling costs $22 at any appliance parts counter. The timer is a physical mechanism built from gears and contact cams. It does not care about moisture. When it eventually wears out after nearly 2 decades of weekly use, the replacement part runs $65, and installation takes 15 minutes. Parts for this entire platform remain widely stocked across the country, which is not something that can be said about the control boards and spider arm assemblies inside the machines that replaced it. Current use pricing on the Kenmore 80 series sits between $150 and $250. A comparable LG or Samsung front loader from a similar era lists for $400 to $550. That gap exists entirely because one machine has a digital display and the other has a dial. When evaluating a used unit, fill the tub, run the agitator for 30 seconds, then advance the timer manually into the spin cycle. A clean mechanical transition with no grinding is the confirmation needed. Any metallic clunking on that shift is a reason to keep looking. Number 2 is the Speed Queen TC5, and its position on this list comes down to a failure rate that does not make sense until the engineering behind it gets examined. Lower documented failures than Maytag, lower than Whirlpool, lower than almost any residential top-load washer ever manufactured at scale. And yet, the used market prices it like something is fundamentally wrong with it. A 2007 TC5 arrived at a service shop not long ago, carrying an estimated 12,000 cycles on its original transmission. It had spent 17 years running full household laundry through every variety of load imaginable. The owner wanted a frank assessment of what major work was approaching. The cabinet came off, the transmission housing checked, motor brushes measured, timer contacts tested, pump seal examined. The result? Nothing requiring attention. The pump seal was holding. The motor brushes had meaningful life remaining. The recommendation was to return in several thousand more cycles. The owner left, convinced something was being withheld. Nothing was. Speed Queen arrived at the TC5 by making a decision no other residential appliance brand made at scale. Rather than engineering a home washer and optimizing it for longevity, the company took the drivetrain already running inside commercial coin-operated laundromat machines and repackaged it for residential installation. Commercial laundromat transmissions run 10 to 12 full cycles every single day in environments where failure is not acceptable. The TC5 runs those same all-metal helical gears in a sealed oil bath. Steel agitator shaft, metal drive coupling, cast metal basket support. No plastic carrying any structural load anywhere in the drivetrain. The machine is powered by a 1/2 horsepower commercial duty motor. Standard residential washers use a 1/3 horsepower motor that thermal trips under a saturated heavy load. The TC5 motor does not register the difference. Used TC5 units from the 2005 through 2015 production window are currently available between $200 and $400. New Speed Queens with equivalent engineering cost over $1,000. The used market has not adjusted its pricing to reflect the fact that commercial drivetrain components do not age on the same curve as residential ones. These machines are not cheap because they are worn. They are cheap because they are old, and the market treats those two things as the same. They are not. Purchase price is around $300. 10,000 cycles across 20 years, and a total maintenance spend around $200 for the entire period. No other residential top-load category produces numbers like that. It's right for households committed to running the same machine for 15 or more years, anyone managing consistently heavy loads, and anyone whose last appliance relationship ended with a repair quote that exceeded what the machine was worth. Not right for households where water consumption per cycle matters, since the TC5 uses more water than modern high-efficiency machines. The drum capacity runs smaller than today's oversized residential tubs, and if a digital interface or connected functionality belongs on the requirement list, this machine has nothing to offer there. Number 1 is the Maytag Dependable Care, and the argument for it begins with what sits underneath the cabinet. The transmission in this machine is the direct descendant of the heavy-duty design Maytag refined for commercial coin-operated laundromat applications. Forged steel gears running in a sealed oil bath with continuous lubrication and no belt anywhere in the system. That engineering is now available in a residential machine with more drum capacity than the commercial version, selling for $200 to $350 on the used market because it has a rotary dial and the listing gets scrolled past 60 times a day. A buyer came in with a firm $800 budget and a clear preference for Samsung. A dependable care was suggested. The response was predictable. That is what a grandmother owned. Service documentation on a 1998 dependable care running for over a decade was produced on the spot. The total ownership cost across 11 years was $140, covering a pump, a lid switch, and an initial tune-up. The buyer returned the following week with a 2004 dependable care purchased for $275. 8 months ago, a message arrived. 3 years into ownership, no repair calls made. Why is nobody talking about this washer? The dependable care, built between the late 1980s and 2007, uses an agitator connected through a heavy-duty spline shaft with nylon dogs that are owner replaceable when they eventually wear after 15 to 20 years. $12 in parts and 20 minutes with a socket wrench. The tub is porcelain-coated steel. It does not crack from thermal cycling, does not chip when hardware gets left in a pocket, and does not develop the embedded mildew odor that plastic tubs accumulate and never fully release. Service records from shops working this platform across decades show units from the mid-1980s with factory-conditioned tubs after 40 years of use. Parts pricing: agitator dogs $12, water pump $45, lid switch $18, timer assembly $75. A commercial Maytag with equivalent engineering runs $1,200 to $1,800 new. The Dependable Care delivers the same core drivetrain at roughly 1/5 of that. Before purchasing one, run through this checklist. Start a complete cycle and listen during agitation. Smooth mechanical movement with no grinding and no clunking on direction reversal is the target. Check the interior tub for rust penetration. Surface spotting is acceptable. Deep pitting through the porcelain is a reason to pass. Advance the timer through a full cycle manually and confirm it does not stall between phases. And when searching listings, prioritize estate sales and downsizing households. Machines that spent their working lives in climate-controlled basements under careful single-family ownership carry the best combination of low actual wear and reliable maintenance history available anywhere on the used market. It's right for large households, home-based businesses, farms, anyone planning a 15-plus year ownership window, and anyone who wants to handle basic repairs without scheduling a service call. Not right for households with water cost sensitivity, since this machine uses 30 to 40 gallons per cycle against 15 to 20 for a modern HE washer. Hard water accelerates mineral buildup when it's not softened. Smart home integration is not part of what this machine offers. Purchase a Dependable Care for $250, run 8,000 cycles across 18 years, and budget $180 for parts across that entire span. No other home appliance category comes close. So these are the three top loaders the resale market consistently undervalues. The Kenmore 80 series, a mechanical drivetrain built before the industry traded durability for compliance ratings. The Speed Queen TC5, carrying commercial laundromat engineering at used market prices that have not caught up to what that engineering actually means. And the Maytag Dependable Care, the same transmission philosophy that runs coin-operated laundromats, available for under $350 because it does not have a display. More on what dealers push versus what actually runs for 20 years is coming. Until next time, happy washing.